Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me on this very rainy day here in the UK. It's very grim outside. Storm something or other is here. I haven't checked on the news to see what it's called, but anyway, it's just a bit darker than normal, so I've got the lights on. But hey, what are we talking about today? Well, you can see by the side of me here is this lovely 1966 Leedy kit, which is a Shelly Manne range. Again, I've had a few people writing to me saying, have you got a Shelly Manne kit? And if I on my socials made it sound like I did, I haven't. I've just got a Shelly Manne range kit. Maybe he played it at some point or other. Who knows? Because it lived in America most of its life, I think. And then Rod Coombes from Steelers Wheel got hold of it. And his signature is actually in every shell. And I'll grab the 13 in a minute and show you, which actually is missing a head, as you can see. But this kit, well, I think I've said before, my dad loved Shelly Manne. When I was younger, I used to listen to the records and stuff, and I wasn't really into it. You know what you're like when you're a young drummer, you want a bit more flash and flair. So, Gene Krupa I got, Joe Morello I got, Philly Joe Jones I got, and obviously the big hitters, so to speak, like Louie and Buddy, I understood. But when it came to Shelly, I didn't really get it. I wasn't listening to band players, I wanted to chop everything up all the time and solo. I was Ian Pace in my head, But as I got older, I realised that the more from 16 to about 21, I'd be sitting in with dad's sort of jazz chums down in Bath, and they'd say, here young'un, play quieter, and here young'un, not so heavy with the ride, or not so heavy with your left hand, or not so heavy with the bass drum, and they would guide me and as a young drummer, I was very keen to get into the 4-bar breaks and the 8-bar breaks instead of thinking about, the main deal, which is the feel, the time, the groove, the comping, using your ears, all those things which I like to think young musicians don't always think about. I'm sure there's some good stuff in there too, obviously, but mostly, being a harsh critic of myself, which I am, it wasn't good enough and I wasn't listening to the right stuff. So listening to somebody like Shelly really brought that all in. When I was probably a bit later than that, probably 30s. I'd also discovered some other drummers before that point, but it was only maybe in my 30s I listened to him more and was like, hang on a minute, I get it now. But I was getting that as well earlier from Jimmy Cobb and, Bill Stewart, more modern players I was listening to. I was like, right, I get it now. But actually for Shelly himself, wasn't until I was in my 30s that I really started to get it. So when Tristan at Drumattic had this kit, when he was in the other premises in Radstock, I used to go and see it and I earmarked it. I was like, I wish I could just walk away with that today. Which I could on a credit card and stuff, but you think, I probably shouldn't. And I made all the reasons not to in the world not to get it. And then he moved to Frome, which is of course where he is now, where I'm doing the drum clinic there in a couple of weeks' time. And there's only 5 tickets left, people. So if you're thinking of going, pick up the phone, start dialing and start typing and buying your ticket from Eventbrite, because we've only got 5 left. But when he moved to that premises and he still had the kit, at the start of this year when I knew I was touring with Susie, I thought I should get that kit, partly because I think Dad would have loved to have had a Shelly Manne range kit. That would have been brilliant. He would have preferred an 18-inch bass drum maybe, I don't know. But that's beside the point. I think just the fact that it was a Shelly Manne kit, he would have got off on that and loved it. So part of it was like looking up to the heavens going, Dad, I'll get that for you one day, And then also doing sessions with my DW kit. I've got an 18-inch bass drum and a 22. Because I think I've said before, in my DW collectors, I've got like 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 toms, hanging toms, and then 14, 16, 18 floor toms. And then 2 snare drums, and then the 18 and the 22 bass drum, just so I can keep mix and matching for different sessions and tours and stuff. So I've got enough sizes in the same colour. I saw this bad boy probably, as I say, March time, February, when I went in there. And I thought, I want to hear it. I said, Tristan, could you get it out from where it is? I'm not going to play it, but could I stand over here and you play it for me? Let me just hear how it projects, how it sounds. Then maybe I'll have a little tap. Then, of course, he held the sticks out eventually, said, you try it. And it just felt great. Got the drum key out, and the toms tuned up really well. They tuned down really well. And I think on the clip that I'll put a link to below here, I put Remo ambassadors on it because it had some Evans heads on it when I got it, which were brilliant. They had the sort of the retro jazz 56 heads on it. I think it's 56. And they were, it's cool. But with the Remo ambassadors, it just sort of tuned a bit lower and just felt a bit, if I needed it to do it. But of course I didn't buy it to make it sound like a rock kit. You know, I'm not really into that kind of thing. I think a vintage kit, you need to understand the era it was made, and it's not going to do all the things that a modern kit will do, and I shouldn't expect it to. Same as when I buy a modern kit, I don't expect it to sound like a vintage kit, because it can't. You know, they're two different beasts. So when people say, why have you got so many kits? And I've got 5, I think, 4 kits. It's like, and there's a Gretsch, which is actually with my friend Chris Bennett in America, but that's a whole nother story. We need to get to that. That, you know, I buy them for the reason of being a pro player. I need them to do different jobs. So my collector's kit, no matter what toms I use, whatever sort of setup and, you know, thing I think about doing with the kit for a whatever session, I've got all the drums to take care of that. But I can't expect it to sound like a retro kit like my 68 or this 66 Leedy. You know, it's just not going to do it. And likewise, I can't expect this kit. I'm not going to buy this kit, put all like pinstripe heads on it and try and make it sound like a modern kit. You can, and people do, and that, again, that's fine. But in my mind, I need it to be kind of categorized, you know, like that's good for this, that's good for that. But as I say, I wanted to experiment to see what this had, you know, in its armory. Could it do it? And it could. And this bass drum is killer. I mean, watch that clip, you'll see exactly what I mean. And I think there's another clip where I'm playing it in normal jazz, sort of higher tuning as well. I didn't bother with mid because I'm not trying to sell it like these drum shops do. And I love when they do a high, mid and a low, but I'm not into doing that just for my own purposes. But you can almost hear there's nothing in it either. That's pretty ominous. I know Halloween's just been and gone, but I mean, you can hear that's a bad boy. I love the finish as well, the Burgundy Sparkle, which is the same as the Gretsch kit that's in America, which again, I'll tell you about another time. I need to get that here. That's my next job. But yeah, so, and it's got these extra fittings on it. That's obviously for the ride cymbal here, you know, the L arm, which I'll get at some point. And then he obviously wanted a splash on here, sort of Buddy style or something here, Rod Coombes, or I guess it was Rod Coombes who made these adjustments. I asked Tristan at the shop if he had any more background to the kit, and he said no, not really. That's all he knows. That's where it came from, and you know, that before that we don't know who owned it or whatever. But I think the shells are mahogany maple. I haven't done any research, obviously online. You guys can type in very quickly and find out. I always just do it by ear and by looking in the shells, and there's clear heads on the bottom, so I could see all the shells were absolutely pristine. And I'll get the 13 over now, and I think these are. I sometimes get these mixed up. I think these are stick saver hoops rather than stick chopper hoops. And I love them. I love heavy hoops on my drums. I love the die cast hoops. I ordered die cast hoops from my snare drums from DW. They're all die cast. I much prefer that to the normal rims. I just like the crack it gives you. I think it's something that I really, really like. Good for rim clicks and so on. And obviously rim shots. There's the badge. Same badge on all the drums. Is that very clear? I think as the lights are on, it's not as clear as normal. And there's the finish. It's a beautiful finish. Really nice. There's a few like little, what they call spider sort of hairline cracks occasionally in the plastic finish, which you expect, and a bit of stick drum rub, or whatever they call it, rim rub. Sounds a bit rude. But yeah, on the shell there. But that's fine. Again, no problem. The dampers work great. I love this. You know, the baseball bat Ludwig thing's very cute and everything, but this works much better. Straight up and down, all good. And there you can see Rod Coombes' autograph, signature. And he signature. He signed all of the drums. We've got a 13 here. I like those lugs too. They're kind of natty, aren't they? Sort of kind of edging towards Ludwig, but not. 16-inch floor tom, which is really low at the moment. Because as I say, I took it to the studio to mess about with it, and I haven't tuned them up since then. But you know, and a 20-inch bass drum. But you can see the shells, look, really good, really, really well made. You know, they're not painted white inside with that sort of resin coating. I'm still not sure why Ludwig did that. Was it for the sound, or was it because the shells are a bit funky? Who knows? You know, we all know the story about Ringo playing them in '64, and they had to get loads of workers in to make the kits because all the orders went up from like maybe 5 kits a day to 50 kits a day or something, you know, whatever. But yeah, great, really good, really solid shell, tunes really nicely, plays really well. As I say, floor tom's awesome. We've got the usual kind of funky rail system here, you know, and I need to a hex thing to, you know, wrench to get the drum, to get the alarm working properly. But that's fine, it works well, it's not too worn, it's actually quite good on both sides of this, you know. I don't know what you call these, but it's the old-fashioned system where you just hook the drum on to this arm here. And again, I'm not a vintage sort of expert, but I don't know what you call those. But yeah, it's just one of those, and it works fine. You know, I mean, we're spoiled from the sort of Rogers Swivel-matic onwards. You know, they invented a really good way of bringing the drum towards you. Tom Holders and Slingerland did a really good one. And they set the standard for everyone else. So it's a bit like, I can't get it exactly where I'd want it, but I can get it in a rough kind of position. If I want to get more rim shots off the tom, just make it a bit steeper, and I can have it more flush. But is it ideal? It's not brilliant. But again, when you play vintage stuff, you kind of think, well, that's part of the deal, right? You know you're not getting all that choice, but it's not about that. It's about the choice of the sound. And again, I've covered this in another video, I think, with my Ludwig kit. But, you know, I very much buy these kits because, one, I use them as a pro player. You know, I just can't afford to collect them for the fun of it. I wish I could, but life hasn't been that good to me. You know, there's very few people that can do that and just collect them. And the people that do, I'm glad, because then people like me can buy them later. So it's very much for the sake, it's a kind of a work tool. This one means a little bit more, like I explained earlier, because of the Shelly Manne and my dad kind of thing. But also, I just know that when someone rings me for a session and they sometimes quiz what gear you've got, you know, like sometimes Stuart Bruce and Charlie Jones and these engineers and producers that I work for will say, do you mind bring the DW, but do you mind bringing one of the vintage ones just in case, you know? And that's a cool thing. And I know what my Ludwig can do and what it can't do. And I know clearly what my new modern DWs do, even though they're like 10 years old now or something. And this just gives me another flavour. The shells are just, as I say, they're really well made. They can create a very dark sound and also a very clean, dry sound tuned up, you know. And I can't necessarily get that from that Ludwig kit. And every kit's different. Like someone else might have a Leedy like this that goes, mine doesn't tune so well. It's a bit soggy here and it's a bit this. Whereas this one is spot on. And I know that, as I say, because I've played it now. And I know exactly, it's not a collector's kit, it's actually a player's kit. It has got the provenance of the Rod Coombes thing, which is cool. But this is very much going to be something that I use. It'll live here with me, but it will go out on sessions. And I'm looking forward to gigging it properly. It hasn't totally had the right kind of chance to do that. The right material, the right session hasn't quite come up yet, but it will. And I'm sure there could be an interesting combination between parts of this kit and part of that Ludwig kit. I'm saying that 'cause it's off camera, it's just over there. You know, there's could be a kind of Frankenstein kit I could make out of those two, which could sound really cool in the studio. Visually it'll be weird, white marine pearl that's slightly yellowing next to burgundy, but that's not the point. We're using our ears to see what things sound like. And I know there's going to be a session where I use this bass drum, probably with some damping in it, probably. That's wide open at the moment. And when I was rehearsing with Little Man, I used it once and I put like a blanket against the front head, and that was just enough. And it was like, even the band, it's very rare that the band care, right, about what your kit sounds like. They might go, oh, it's all right, yeah, it's cool. But they were like, my God, that is killer, that bass drum. Not to say that the toms weren't, but the bass drum was just boom, rock solid, man. Beautiful. And I could see myself using this bass drum with the toms from the DW kit and maybe having a kind of Frankenstein kit like that. And I think maybe changing up the heads as well. People say, oh, kit's a kit, you know, but the heads do make a difference. You know, I used to teach at some schools where the kit was hanging. It'd be like a Percussion Plus or something. I'd say, look, let's just buy new heads, top and bottom, tune it up. It's going to be fine. It's never going to be a Yamaha, DW, Ludwig or Gretsch, you know, modern day kit, but it's going to sound all right. And sure enough, buy the heads, put them on, tune them up, boom, we got a nice kit. The hardware may have sucked and the toms may move all over the place, but tonal wise, the drums sounded great. And same with this, you know, it's amazing what you can do. And even with my DW, when I was on tour with Susie, I went from Emperor coated to Emperor clears. And even though they pitted a little bit, but the sound was amazing. just the sound difference was like, wow, sort of, not that I needed to fall in love with the kit again, but just hearing those toms, especially the floor toms with those Emperor clears on the top, was just like mind blowing. And while we're talking about this Leedy kit, I know I mentioned this and I put some pictures on my socials, but Richie Paradise, a great drummer in Bristol, really good swing drummer, Gene Krupa sort of style, really cool guy, and he wears really cool clothes too. He's just frigging cool. He contacted me and said he had this pedal, and I was like, okay, you got a Leedy pedal, that's cool, man. And I was thinking, I don't think I really need it. And I'd walked past the Ludwig, and I've got the Speed King, I've got the tom stacked up with the snare on top, and I've got the Speed King pedal on top of that snare drum. And I'd pass it and go, that's nice. And one night I'd had a few sherries, and I remembered that he'd said that he had this, and it was on Facebook Marketplace. Is that what it's called? And I got on, I was like, I want it, I'm going to have it. And so we come to a gentleman's agreement, and here it is. So this is the pedal, Leedy Shelly Manne pedal, which I think is from the same period. I don't know, it could be 50s. Yeah, again, I really don't know. And anyone who watches my channel knows that I don't do loads of research on this stuff. I just like to bring it on and talk about it because, you know, when I buy this stuff, I don't buy it to curate it and to talk about it and do videos about it necessarily. I buy it because I want to play it, and I'm a drummer. I'm a working musician. So yeah, I don't know what period this is from. Maybe somebody could tell me. But yeah, and do you know what? It works great. I used it at the Little Men rehearsal, that session, it was about 4 weeks ago, the rehearsal, and this pedal worked great, and I thought it's brilliant. And it's just it's not a chain, it's a strap, but it works just fantastic. And the colours remind me of is it 250, the Premier 250, which used to have this. That was a good pedal too, actually. Yeah, but anyway, it's good. And the raised footboard there, I like that. Yeah, works great. Love it, totally dig it. So anyway, that's this Shelly Manne kit. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks as ever for tuning in, liking and subscribing. Thanks again for all the Cedric Sharpley love I've got. So many people have contacted me from the inner circle of Cedric as well, which is phenomenal. You know, just I had no idea one video clip would hit so many people. And it was heartfelt as well. So it wasn't like I was trying to, you know, make something happen. It was just like, God damn, I want to do that. So that's cool. Well, I'm up to 969 subscribers. So keep sharing, keep liking, get up to 1,000 hopefully before Christmas. What a Christmas present that could be. But have a great weekend of gigs, whatever you're doing, or practice sessions. Stay well, stay safe, especially in this storm. And I shall see you next week. Take care, guys. Bye.